Hello and welcome to Sarge's Custom Tutorials. Today we're going to be looking at the McFarlane DC Multiverse black and gray variant of the Knightfall Batman. Taking a closer look at the box, we have the standard window box front, comic book artwork on the back, the black suit variant Knightfall. Alright, let's get him out of the box and take a closer look. Standard accessories in the box. We have the standard issue card and stand. In the box, same as the blue version, he comes with 2 additional hands, 2 gripping hands and 2 fist hands. Comes with pretty good looking little batarang. Going over articulation, the head is on a dumbbell joint, so you get pretty good looking up, sort of okay looking down. Good tilt. Shoulder is the standard McFarlane ball cap. Full rotation. Bicep swivel. Really unattractive looking elbows, but functional. You get a sculpted ball joint for the wrist, which I do and I don't like. It's better than just a regular ball, but you wind up looking like you have a broken wrist sometimes. So they could sink this a little bit further up into the forearm and you'd lose a little bit of range, but it would look a lot more natural. The diaphragm joint on this guy doesn't go forward at all. The goes back pretty well, side to side, not really side to side either, rotation. The lower ball joint here goes okay forward, okay back, and tilt side to side. With the two working together, you get okay range of motion, but I'll probably pop the torso apart and see if I can get any more forward out of that. The hips, this is a soft rubber piece. Go up to not quite 90. Full splits, but it does stretch the diaper a little bit. And thigh swivel in, but not really out. Double jointed knee, looks good and functions. Ball joint, ankle, and a toe hinge, which is really far back. Before I make any modifications, let's do some comparison shots. Here he is with 2 customized McFarlane Batman figures. Note that the 3 Jokers Batman on the right has had his legs modified, so he's shorter than he would normally be. Here he is with a customized Mattel DC Multiverse Batman on the left, and a DC Universe Classics Batman on the right. And here he is with a customized DC Essentials Batman on the left, and a DC Collectibles Batman on the right. And here he is with 2 NECA Batman figures. Now, most of the changes I'm going to make with this Batman are really just my personal preferences. It's really a great looking Batman figure as is. Easily the best one that McFarlane's ever made. That and the blue one, I like them both about the same. The legs on the blue version, I only took off about 1/8 of an inch maybe off the bottom of the legs. This is really one of the better sets of legs that they've put on a figure. Shortening them up helps a little bit, but it's not really all that necessary. I'll probably add a little bit of shading on the belt. I may do a black wash on the gray, but I kind of like it as is. When it catches the light pretty well. I don't know if it even really needs it. I did a black wash on the blue version just because the gray was so bright. It was almost white. So I wanted to do a black wash on it, but this one looks really nice. I don't know if I need to do it. The other thing I might do, I'll have to do a little bit of finagling. I'm going to see if this is the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh head sculpt. I'm going to see how this looks on this body here. Actually looks pretty decent. I don't think I'm gonna have to mess around with the neck peg on that at all. And it's got a little bit bigger opening, so actually the movement in there is a little bit better than the other head. The head's a little bit bigger, but I don't mind that so much. And I really love this Zurinar head sculpt. I think that's one of the better long-eared head sculpts that McFarlane has done. I painted it black previous to this. It was used on another custom, but I think that looks really good. And I don't have to adjust the neck. It actually sits better. This head sits better on the neck for this figure than this one does. This one sits a little bit high. It's just got a little bit more of a sharper sculpt. This is a good Batman head, but it's just a little, the mask especially is a little bit softer. I like this one. It's got a little bit more detail on the brows, and eyes are a little bit tighter. I think that looks really good. Alright, I've used a heat gun to separate the body, and one interesting thing that I haven't seen before is that on this particular figure, the crotch piece, the diaper, is actually glued to the crotch joint. Usually this just kind of slips over it, but this time it's actually glued on to those two spots. You can see in there. Those two little flat things coming off either side of the ball joint there is how this usually just slips on, but now on this one it's glued. It wasn't glued on the blue one, I know that for sure. And I just got the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, which came out about the same time as this Batman, and it wasn't glued either, so that's kind of interesting. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't stop me from doing what I'm going to do, but it's just interesting. So rather than doing a black wash on this, because the yellow on this matches the yellow on the symbol pretty closely, so I don't want to put a black wash over the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is just use a felt pen and just going to add essentially a black line onto either side of all of these capsules and to the buckle in the middle, just to give it a little bit of depth and definition. It'll make it look like it's kind of a shadow there. I'm just going to go all the way around. And this takes a little bit longer to dry than paint, so you have to be careful after you do this to not touch it and smear it. But once it dries, it looks good. And it adds just, it breaks up the yellow just a little bit, just enough to make it a little more interesting to look at. And there you go. Pretty simple, pretty basic. You could do it with really any pen, but it just makes it a little bit more interesting. Adds a little bit of depth. Okay, I have warmed up the legs so they're a little bit easier to cut. If you look at the blue guy, I'm gonna cut off about 1/8 of an inch. I'm doing my very best to do a straight, even cut. Took off about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now I'm going to drill the hole for the peg and a little bit deeper into the leg. I'm using a drill bit that's just slightly smaller than the peg hole because I don't want it to get any bigger and loosen up the joint. I'm now using a Dremel with a wood carving bit to carve out the inside of the shin just about a half a circle so that the ankle joint will sit in there recessed just a little bit. Okay, all set there. Now I just gotta warm these back up to replace the ankle joint. Push it back in there. And there we go. Still pretty tight in there. Still have full articulation, and it's going to look a little bit better. So the next thing I'm going to do is, well, McFarlane has already kind of hogged out the front of this joint. The reason why they won't lean forward, if you look inside here, he has the joint for the torso in front of the shoulder joints because he has these big openings for the shoulder. He has to put the joint for the torso in front of it. So it's actually, when it's sitting straight up and down, the joint is kind of going towards the back like that. So there's no room for it to lean forward because it's already forward as far as it'll go. It's already at an angle coming out like this, so you only have a tiny bit before it hits. So I'm going to take out just a little bit more on the front side of this, basically about halfway between where it is and that first line of muscles right there. I'm going to use one of these sanding drums to kind of just cut out some of the inside there. Taking a little bit of the sides as well. I'm going to use a sanding stone that's a cone like this so I can get in and just do the opening where the ball goes in because there's a little bit of a ridge there. And this is just a finer grinding stone. Alright, I warmed up the body and got all the pieces back together, and there you have our finished product. Made the legs about 1/8 of an inch shorter. Swapped out our head, added a little more detail around the belt, and as far as our ab crunch goes, it's definitely a little bit better, but still not a ton of room to work with there. I only, took out 1/8 at most of material, so it gets a little bit better of a crunch forward, but there's just still not much to work with there. But there's not really even, it's just, we hit the exact spot. There's not even really a gap there. You can just barely see it if I bend it back, but get a little bit better, but still not great. And sides, again, a little bit better, but not a huge difference, but pretty good. Another thing that helps McFarlane figures a lot is pushing the shoulders all the way up. I feel like I made the right call on the head there. I really like this. The Zur-En-Arrh head sculpt is just, it's my favorite long ear head sculpt from McFarlane. Let me know what you think, which head sculpt you prefer. This one's not bad, that one's just better. Overall, like I said, this is easily McFarlane's best Batman figure. It's really great looking out of the box, doesn't necessarily need much modification. But I've seen some pretty awesome customs. I'm really hoping that they give us, stop using the Hush body and start using this body for, at least a few more Batmans. I'm hoping we get something kind of like this. Black bat signal, get some pouches, yellow and brown, blue and black. Give us every iteration, every combination of Batman we can get on this body, and I'll be happy. If we don't, I'll hopefully be able to get a few more of these for relatively cheap and make my own customs. I really like this body. I've seen some other people posting customs online that, with a black symbol, with pouches, that just look excellent. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how I can make these videos more informative or more enjoyable in the future. And thanks again for watching Sarge's Custom Tutorials.